Hello guys, welcome once again to another video, and today I'll just show you a simple implementation of an accordion, and this time it's in Vanilla HTML, so do not worry. We're also going to use Vanilla JavaScript and CSS to actually make its functionality of closing and opening. And this is also up to accessibility standards because we are using Aria attributes here. And if you check, it's actually functioning properly as to what accordions should do, which is that if we have one accordion open and we open another one, the currently opened one should close, as you can see. And yeah, I will walk you through the code now. It's pretty fun actually. So I actually just put it in a single file because all of this is like everything that I will actually do in HTML, in vanilla HTML. So yeah. So the first thing is pretty much just the declaration of the HTML file, the head. Then I just imported a style sheet. Oh no, I just imported a style sheet from Google Fonts just to get this chevron arrow to load. So this is chevron from Google Fonts. Anyway, after that, the title is accordion, and I just did some styling for the body and the button. First one is actually to centralize this accordion right here. As you can see, is display of grid and place item center. So that's how we generally center. One of the ways rather to center a div or any element really. That's a block, or yeah, that's positioned relative or statically. Then for the button, I just made it so that it's inline flex. So this is a flex now and it's inline, and it's justified to have space between. So this is a span element. So this is an element and another element. They're now far apart. So that's what justify content space between does. And pretty much just some transitions for hover here. And this is where the area attributes come in. So we can actually use that to select them in CSS. So we're killing two birds in one stone. First, to have accessibility for screen readers and stuff like that. And second, to actually, minimize our code in, I guess, pretty much. So if the button has the attribute of Aria expanded equals to true, then we want to animate its child element with a class of material symbols outlined to transform and rotate it by 180 degrees. So that is the chevron down here. So you can see if when we're opening, it's actually rotating by 180 degrees. After that, I just declared some SR only to, well, as you can see right here, there we go. Just so we can give it some kind of title, I guess, that this whole, I don't know what to call this, a table, I'm not sure, but this whole thing is an accordion, a section of accordions rather. Okay, after this SR only to hide the text. So this is how you generally hide texts from the visuals. As you can see, we can't find the word accordion here. Go down here, we have a text, but over here it's nowhere to be found. Okay, so after the class name declaration to remove a text or hide a text from the visuals, we pretty much just have declarations here for the card. Now earlier, if you saw, there's like a display flex here, but I checked that it actually works perfectly without it. Like, you don't need to have a display flex. I'm not sure why though. It's very interesting. Oh well, let's proceed. And the accordion container, so that's pretty much the container which includes the button here that toggles the hidden content below. As you can see, like there's like some kind of space here where the um, background color of the button is not reaching. So that's the padding right there. And then this one is pretty much some kind of, I'm not sure if it's, you can call it advanced, but let's say you need a bit of knowledge in pseudo selectors in CSS. So what this says is that we want to get the element with the class name of accordion container, but not, okay, so the class name with the element with the class name of accordion container, but exclude anything that you put here. So we put the last child. So we want to exclude the last child, the last element child that has the class name of accordion container. So that is the thing that, so that is what this selector is saying in this case. So all the accordion container, all the elements with the class of accordion containers, we want to give them a border bottom of 2 pixels, solid HSL 00% to 55%, except for the last child. So if we remove this, let's actually see if it works. Oh, wait. So everything was pretty much removed the border bottom, so it works. But what I want to see is actually if the last child selector is working. There we go. As you can see down here, the border actually became thicker, while the others is still the same. That's because it's pretty much doubled. So that's what this selector does, pretty much. Pseudo selector rather. Okay. So now let's proceed to the accordion itself. So this is the container of the hidden content that we have. First, I declare the variable, or a property rather, it's called, because this is where this is how we'll actually manipulate the accordion to hide and reveal its contents rather, and just set it to have a display of grid so that this will work, and set the grid template rows equal to the value of the grid rows, and overflow hidden. So I will walk you through now to how this works. So these are the only things that we need to take note of. You don't need to take note of these two that much. Okay. If you notice, below this accordion is we have an accordion child. So this is the direct child of this element. So if we go down, where is it? Right here. It's direct child. So as you can see, the contents is inside the child itself. And if you notice as well that this accordion child has a min height of 0. So that means the child, or that means this element does not have any height whatsoever. Alright, this accordion child element, or this element with the class of accordion child, does not have a height. So it's pretty much, well, empty, I guess you can say. However, the way that grid template rows work is that it forces its children, or its contents, I guess, the element that has this this property, or this, yeah, it's called property, to fill up all the rows that you specify. In this case, later on it will be called 1FR, one fraction of the overall container. So that's pretty much all of its height, because you only have one child, one direct child, which is this element with the class of accordion child. And we set overflow hidden because this min height doesn't really hide the content. The content overflows even if we set an element with a min height of 0. So what I'm saying is, if I show you real quick, I just put a div and hello there. Yes. So if I save this, it will show up. And if I say that style of this will have a min height of 0, as you can see, the min height has been declared, but the content is still there. And even if we say overflow hidden, this should not hide it. There we go. It's not hiding the content, which is the text hello there. So that's why we actually set this to overflow hidden, to hide the content of its direct child, accordion child. Okay, so now the next one would be the article. So that's pretty much the child of the element with the class name of accordion child. Also, take note that we actually declared the padding on the article and not on the accordion child. Well, that's because our goal here is to actually hide the overall direct child of this accordion. So if you probably guessed, this will actually show up, this will actually show the padding. As you can see right here, it increased by a little bit. And if I, excuse me, so if I increased the padding again, 15, as you can see right there. So now it's showing up. That's because padding is not really included in the dimensions of an element. So it's like it's registered as like part of the content. So what I mean by that is, for example, right here, this button has a padding of 0.5 and 1 rep, and its background color actually also covers that padding. So if I just open up the console here and check, there we go. As you can see, we have the padding. The color green is the padding, and if we hover, it's actually part of what's being hovered. And if I just highlight the accordion, as you can see, we have a single line there, which is the, I think that's violet. Yeah, so that's pretty much the accordion with the mean height of 0. If you can, wait, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. The dimensions is 624 by 0. If I highlight its child, it's pretty much empty. There we go. And the article, there we go, is actually hidden just below. So that's pretty much the main purpose of the display grid and the grid template rows. We want to force the overflowing content, which is hidden. So the overflowing content is the article in this case, to take over, not really take over, to fill in the grid template row. Yeah, that's it. Okay. I hope I explained this properly. Let's proceed. So this one here is pretty much just the chevron font styling. You can see this in Google Fonts really. Okay, let's proceed to the markup. So for the markup, so I'm just doing some kind of semantic stuff. So since we have a section of accordions, for example, this could be considered as frequently asked questions, then that means they are a section. I mean, it is a section. The container is a section of frequently asked questions. And now we can actually change this to facts instead of accordion in that case, or in that regard. There we go. Now this is labeled as a section of frequently asked questions. Now below that, for its children in this case, a section, we have a div of accordion container. So that is what we defined up here. Just have some kind of padding and the border as well, except for the last child. And now inside of that would be right here. As you can see, we have the button and the accordion right here. So this button right here is what we see when we are not, or when the accordion content is not toggled open. There we go. And this down here is what we see when it is toggled open, specifically this down here. Oh, oops. And one thing you notice is that I actually put the title. Well, the title is not really that important. You can choose any other else, like Aria label, or maybe just a class name really. But I just prefer it like this, adding a title to my button. But the important thing to note here is the Aria controls attribute. Now, one thing to note is that this attribute specifies the element that this element is controlling. So Aria controls attribute specifies the element that the element with this attribute is controlling, and the value of this Aria controls should be the ID of the element that is being controlled. So if you notice, the value of this attribute right here is accordion 1, and if you check below this button is the accordion itself, and it has the ID of accordion 1. So we will actually make use of this in the JavaScript script So that's pretty much killing two birds in one stone. Accessibility and pretty much convenient to use. You can just grab this attribute right here or grab its value. Okay, so pretty much just h2, and again you can look this up in Google Fonts. And yeah, that's pretty much a repeat. Let's go to script now. Okay, I will walk you through this one by one. First, I grabbed the toggle buttons. As you can see, this is how I grabbed it using the attribute of title equals a toggle accordion. So how you get the attributes of an element is pretty much just inside a bracket, right here, like that. And of course, you should do it with a query selector method. Now, query selector all pretty much just returns to you an array of elements that have been found with what you specify here. So to specify attributes is pretty much the same in CSS, just brackets. No, is it called brackets? Well, I call this brackets, so I guess yeah. So you can put any kind of attribute here, and with this, it will grab all the elements that has or that have this, yeah, all the elements that has this attribute title. And this does not take note of the value of the attribute title. That is why we actually put a value here if we're trying to grab a specific element with this title value, I guess. The next one is just a class name, the accordion. We're getting the accordion, or all the accordions rather. After that, we have a function because we're actually reusing this for the event listener. You know what, I can actually separate this, but I'm not going to. So I will skip this for now, this whole function, and let's go over here. So for each button that we get up here, okay, so for each of them, so this for each method is actually going to reiterate over all the values of the array, and then you can do whatever stuff we want for each of them, because this for each inside of it actually gives you a parameter, or rather you should place a callback function, and this right here is a callback function, and inside the callback function, this for each method will give you the value of the element as well as the index. So index pretty much that at which position it is inside the array. Yeah, its position inside the array. So from 0 to whatever max length it is. But we only care about the element really. So there's that. And then in here, we just want to attach an event listener to the button that we get. That would be the event listener of click. So click, pretty much just each click right here. That's what I'm doing. I'm clicking the button. And then we want to pass on a callback function. If you notice that I didn't actually reference the callback function itself, which is handle click, like the function that we want to let's say activate, or the effect that we want to invoke. That's because when you pass on a callback function here, like a function in this case, we'll say function collect console log e.target, say. So I will walk you through this now. So what this does is that this will take reference of this function clicked, and whenever the click event listener fires, this will call the function clicked. And now when it calls that, it will actually give us the parameter of the event. And now what is that event? Well, let's take a look. Okay, well, let me just dock the console down here. Yeah. Okay, I'll just console log the event actually first. So that's what we do. Okay, let's try to click on this. As you can see, it's not opening anymore, but let's check it out. So an event is pretty much just an object provided to you by JavaScript with some keys that you can access to make applications, or pretty much make your app interactive. But what we want here is the target. So the target, if you notice, is actually an HTML element, which is the button. However, let's say we click, okay, first let me actually change this to a.target. So how we target objects in JavaScript, or object keys in JavaScript, is we reference the object, or rather get the name of the object and just add a period here, period, and then the key that we want. Well, there's also another method which is the same as arrays, which is to do it like this, something like that. And if we check, it will still be the same. If I console log, we are getting the button. So this is what we want. However, if we click this, you actually got the heading tag, which is the h2. That's because, well, it makes sense because this was the target of the cursor, or rather the pointer of the user, the h2, and this one will be chevron. There we go. That's why I didn't use this method, but instead I want to actually pass on the button element itself, no matter what target was clicked. Okay, let's walk you through now. Let us walk through now the function handle click. First, we're actually getting the value of the Aria expanded, the accordion expand, just to make it readable. So now Aria expanded means pretty much tells the screen readers if the element that has the ID of what is the value of the Aria controls of the element that has this attribute of Aria expanded is checking if it is opened or not. So it's telling the screen readers that if the element that's being controlled is opened or not. If it's Aria expanded equals to false, that means it's not open yet. If it's equal to true, that means it's open. And take note that these values are actually a string because we're dealing with HTML attributes and not a boolean. Well, technically they are, but just take note of that. Now the next one would be pretty much controls what element. So we're just getting the ID, really, the value of the Aria controls. So get the value. For example, we have the button. So this method is we get the attribute of Aria controls, and this get attribute function will actually return to us its value. So that is this right here. So once we get its ID, we actually want to just get that element with that specific ID. So now this get element by ID will return to us the accordion that has the ID of this value right here, the value of the Aria controls attribute of the button that was clicked. Alright, so if you notice, we have a for loop right here. This is so that we can close the, oh wait, I think I haven't saved it yet. So this is so to close the existing or the currently opened accordion. So if you notice, if this is open and I click another one, the previously opened one will be closed. So that's the purpose of this for loop. So how does that happen? Well, first, we're going to loop through the accordions, the array of elements that has the class name of accordion right here. So this is pretty much an array of accordion elements, I guess. And they were just getting each of those values per loop. So this is one of the ways to do a for loop. So you'll just say const and any kind of variable, and this variable will have the value of whatever's inside of this array based on our current index. But this method will really not allow us to get the index. So this is only good if you only want to get the value, or each value rather, inside of an array. So it's very useful for that. So const accordion of accordions, or element of accordions, whichever name you want. I just named it A because it's already declared here, but yeah. Anyway, I did some comparison that if A, or if the element that we extracted from accordions in this current index or current run of the loop is not equal to the accordion that is controlled by the button that was clicked, right here, button that was clicked. And we're just going to run this. So that means this will close all the accordions that are previously open. And to do that, we just need to assign a property of read rows to 0fr. And of course, we also need to manipulate the button to the button of the accordion that we closed forcefully without the user clicking it. And to do that, we just need to get the ID of the accordion and get the Aria control. So this is pretty much just a vice versa kind of way that we did up here. In this case, it's pretty much just we have the value of the accordion, or we have the element accordion, but we don't have the button. So we just get the ID, and since the Aria controls value is also unique, we just get it, or we just get the button using that. And we're just going to set the Aria expanded to false. And that's it for closing the currently opened accordions. There we go. Now this down here is pretty much just a conditional to close and open an accordion. So we're basing it on the did accordion expand equals to true. That's why it's very crucial to have this up here. So if I remove this, as you can see there's some kind of error, right? Yeah. Okay, that's really weird though. Alright. Okay. So this is because, well, the button is not saying Aria expanded false. So it's saying true here. That's why the chevron down up here is still like this. And of course, this will also affect accessibility. But interesting, it's actually closing. How's it possible? Okay. Alright, because we already set the property here. Obviously. Okay, anyway. Yeah, right here. Aria expanded to true, although it's closed already right here. So just take note of that as well. Always let's see, always check for the every nook and cranny, I guess you can say. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's definitely it. Oh, very nice. Okay, as you can see, it's interactive right here. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something and very useful for building applications to have some kind of a, let's say, a list of information that you have, but you want to hide it because you don't want to overload or overflow your UI. Thank you for watching, and good luck on your development journey.